Welcome back to the podcast. My guest today is Darlene Kincaid. Darlene is the Director of Operations for the Renee White Team in Walnut Creek, California. And this tiny but mighty team did almost 200 transactions last year. And Darlene has worked with Renee White for over a decade. And what I love about this interview and what I want you to listen for is how they leverage their admin team to support their sales team to, one, make sure that they produce at the highest level, but also to protect the brand. One thing we're going to talk about today is how the team certifies people to hold their open houses. It's one example of how they create a standard and an expectation for how things are done around here and how they ensure that that level of service and that approach is carried out no matter who is acting on behalf of the team. So there's lots of great information in here about running a team of this size and also how they attract, onboard, take care of, and retain top buyer's agents. So I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. Hello, Darlene. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am good. I'm trying to keep warm. It's freezing over here, but I'm really excited to chat with you. We have a couple of really key things that I haven't been able to explore much with other director of operations. So today I really want to talk about the way you guys protect your brand, which I think you guys do a standout job of, and how you've built your team through leverage and the way you structure your buyer's agent team. I know that you've had some bumps in the road, as most teams have as they've grown, and so we want to all learn from your mistakes, if you will. So that
Yeah,
other people don't have to make them.
absolutely.
But before we get started, I just want to give you a moment to introduce yourself and explain a little bit about the Renee White team. So I'll give you the floor and say, who is Darlene?
Okay, yeah. So I'm Darlene Kincaid, Director of Operations for the Renee White Team. We're at Keller Williams. We're based in Walnut Creek, California, which is about 25 miles outside of San Francisco. And our team has grown over the last, 15 plus years. We've both been in the business for about almost 20. And yeah,
Well, so
probably one.
yeah, absolutely. How many agents are currently on the team?
Yeah, so we have 5 buyers agents, and then Renee still takes all the listings, and we're currently working on having her transition some of that, but not, maybe just a small piece. And yeah, and then the team also, we have 17 people altogether, and we also have 3 inside sales, which we kind of call client services, and then the rest are ops positions.
So that's a pretty heavily ops weighted team, which is one of the things we're going to talk about, some of the benefits of that and the strategy behind it. So with
Yeah.
those 6 agents, so 5 buyers agents plus a Renee, how many transactions or what was your sales volume in 2022?
So in 2022, we did almost 200 transactions. We did 199, and that was a little over 200 million. So our price point is about a million
Okay.
on average. Yeah.
Makes
So
for some easy math, doesn't it?
yeah,
200
I know this
transactions, million
last year it
bucks.
was really easy math. And then we did about the same the year before.
Okay.
But this was probably the first time like kind of just we're like even with
Mm.
the previous years. But we've always been like growing. So I would say this year we grew in price point more than units, but
Hmm. Okay.
we're happy.
So 6 agents, 200 transactions in Northern California. I mean, that's a big team. That's a
Yeah.
top producing team.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned that you and Renee started in real estate around the same time. So talk about
Yes.
how you came to be the director of operations for this team.
Okay. Yeah. So we both started in real estate around the same time. We always say we were in the same like class together. Kind of grew up doing, all the things we had to do to become agents and trying all these things. And so I did that for a few years. And then my previous background was more in like administration and operations. And so at some point, I decided that I love real estate so much, but I'm better at those other roles. And so I just started talking to other agents in the office and be like, hey, can I do this for you? Can I do that for you? Let me, do your files or do this little bit of marketing. And so that's kind of how it started with Renee. She'd give me like 10 hours a week. And then it grew to a little bit more. And then I was doing her files too. And then eventually she hired me just part-time. And then I was also 50% with another agent in the office. And we did that for a little while until she outgrew that. She realized she needed it. And that's one of the lessons I think we'll get into, is that she didn't maximize on that fast enough, just kind of trying to keep me part-time. And, that kind of was something that we learned. And then fast forward, I was in that role for a few years. And then I left the team for about 3 years to pursue some other stuff. And then was just like bored to death, really, like missing her. And some of the things I was doing. And I was just like, how can I, I want to come back. I want to, and so we crafted again, come to her, how about I do this and that for you? And like got her to do like a 90-day commitment. And then it's been 7 years now since then. So
love it. Well,
yeah.
and it's interesting because you're sort of an exception to the rule, because usually we say, oh, don't hire a licensed agent to be your assistant. They're notoriously not the right fit. But because you came from a background in operations and administration, and you were testing a different career field for you and kind of figuring out where you fit in this industry, it really did make sense for you to move over. So I just wanted to highlight that, because you can like paint people with all the same brush, and you have to look beyond just, oh, they're a licensed agent in my office, therefore they're not going to be a good assistant. Or God forbid you do it the other way and just say, oh, they need some work and I need an admin, sure, I'll take them, without looking at their back skills and experience, right? Gotta look at the whole picture.
So many people will apply to administrative positions that I have that'll say, well, I want to be an agent, but I thought this was a good start. And it's just like hindsight. I just know more, but I think you just don't know. It's like this kind of operations admin roles in real estate have really grown over the last 10 years. So it really, even when I got into real estate, it wasn't even a thing. And it just feels like it's just grown in front of me. So it's made it really exciting.
It's been really fun to see this career path change, because I started recruiting back in 2004, and it was definitely like, oh, well, I need somebody to fill out paperwork for me. And now, these roles are real deal leadership roles. These are COO level roles for a team, right? And they require a whole host of skills. And if you don't have the right person in that position, and the lead agent isn't freed up to just sell, which is how they got where they are and what they want to do, then things can get really messy. And I want to talk about that. So as you were pulling things away from Renee, what was that like for her? Did she have any challenges letting go of parts of the business, or was she like, take it, just take it?
That's funny. She really is comfortable letting go, but she also wants to like make sure that things are, that something's not going to fall through the cracks. So you really got to kind of prove to her, you can trust me, you hand this to me, I'm going to get it done. You don't have to worry. And so we've built that trust, over the years, but she's really okay letting it go.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah, she is. Some things, there's probably some things she's still holding on to, but at some point it's just, you just get maxed out. But that was, some of that was early on, not letting go of enough, and then thinking, oh, I'm just going to hire another agent to take over what felt like the extra, when really it was probably just more admin to support her.
Okay, this is such a juicy topic. Yeah. Let's get into this. This is the good stuff. Okay, so she has you part-time, and then in sort of classic agent think, she's like, well, I'll just give away part of my commission to another agent to do these quasi-admin tasks instead of committing to more salary. So talk about the problems with that?
Yeah. Uh, it- Fast forwarding now, because we just know so much, it's like bringing that person on. I mean, she wasn't willing to give it all up either, like, so it wasn't like she said, you're going to have all the buyers, I'm going to have all the sellers. So it was like, we didn't know what our value proposition was yet. And so it was just like we brought these buyers agents on with all this expectation of what they were supposed to, you're going to do this many units and you're going to, and it was just, it's just not how it works. And we weren't ready for it, and so then we found ourselves frustrated a lot, like you can't make people want more than they want. And so we would like bring people on and think, well, you're going to do X. And so what we've learned over the years is, no, they tell us what they want and we're going to build our team around our goals. And then, they can be supported through that. But that took several years of really getting it wrong, hiring people. I mean, and just really not having a lot for them to do. It was like, what were they supposed to do? Besides take these couple of leads that maybe she couldn't handle or didn't want to. So it just wasn't really planned out very well.
Right. And so looking at that, if you could have done that over, you're part-time, there are some buyer related tasks that need to be done. How could she have leveraged you more efficiently in that situation?
Yeah. So I think we were doing some of it. It was just that, there was only so much I could get done in, a certain amount of time. So like some of the things were, I mean, just honestly, we boiled it down to an agent's job. They just need to be lead generating, showing property, negotiating contracts, and everything else, knowing the market, everything else should go to the admin. So her like maybe toying around on her website or trying to figure out, is this URL a good name, or just like things like that where we could have dug in more, do more marketing, do more around the farm. One of the things that I thought were really good at leveraging her was just, which she did have these buyer tours, making sure everything she needed was, I mean, she basically walk in, here's your package, go show these folks, right? And so it worked really well for her. I think the mistake in having the buyer's agent, so we have this person and what were they supposed to be doing? So we just didn't have enough for them. And I think, and probably even when she had me full time, maybe, or part time, I mean, because I look now at the capacity of what we can do with like so much more, but I just think I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Just like figuring out the right tasks, just what to pull off of her plate. And we just brought people on too soon. I don't know how else to say that. Yeah.
Fair enough. So I think especially when you have a licensed assistant, I mean, you could go show property. You're a licensed assistant, right? I mean, if she paid you full time and she needed some coverage with some buyers, you could just have as easily opened the set for second showings, things like that, as a buyer's agent, right? Maybe she would need coverage on open houses because that would be really outside of your job description for most EAs, right? But beyond having to leverage out some open houses, a great assistant who has bandwidth left in their full-time schedule can really cover some of those quasi buyer's agent tasks until you really have it. Exactly, right?
I mean, honestly, like it's just like infinite. Like just the list of the agent duties to me is here and the assistant is here. It just,
It's funny that you said that. I have this little graphic I show in a class that I teach on what does a real estate agent do, what does an assistant do, and it really falls down to the 80-20 rule, right? The agent's job is the top 20%, and then you see this long laundry list of things that the admin needs to do, and it does look very lopsided, but the agent's bringing in the money and they need to focus their time there, and then everything else can get handled by somebody else. Right? Okay, so let's talk about building this foundation. So you made a couple of mistakes with the buyer's agents. You ended up coming in full time. What did you do to shore up the foundation of your business before you started to bring on buyer's agents, the right way?
Yeah, I think we were bringing them on and learning it at the same time. I just want to go back to some of the things, like when she was part-time, and I was part-time, she'd taken on an REO account, which was like doing listings. So there's a lot of listing coordination that I could have been doing that she was doing. So she's holding on to that. So that was something that grew from that. But the way we kind of we're really good at taking instruction. So it's like every time we think, okay, we're getting this wrong. And so we just always look like, what can we do in the future to not make this mistake again? So then it's like, okay, you bring buyer's agent on the team and it's not working out. Well, it must be us. So what do we need to do? And so one of the things that we learned was to know what our value was. Renee's always had a big like internet account and a lot of leads coming in that way. And we would lead with, you're going to get all these leads from us. And it would just attracted the wrong person. Then we were like not happy with them. They weren't happy with us because they had a certain expectation. So we really had to figure out what is the real value of being on this team. And it was really all the things that we had built, the systems that were put into place for them, these great open houses, the leadership, plug and play. And until we recognized that, that's when we started to attract the right people. And so that took a while. It was a lot of trial and error.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad you touched on that. How not leading with, I promise to just hand business to you, but we do all these other things for you,
Yeah.
creates a different environment and different level of expectation, and attracts different types of people to the
And
team.
it like helps, weed out the people that maybe are just looking for, there's nothing wrong with wanting that, but it just isn't going to work on our team. Like you're not going to be happy and they're going to get leads, but it's like, don't be here for just that. Like you got to want to be a part of something bigger. And, we're going to touch on that, but we brand everything the Renee White team. It's like, we're all Renee White. Like we're all just walking around Renee White. So if you don't want that, this might not be the team for you, and that's okay. But so those were things we had to figure out and be okay with ourselves and find the people that wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice, right? There are teams that really allow free range, and Renee took the route of really holding tight to her brand. So tell me about the thought process behind that.
Her thought process is together we can like do more. Like we dilute our power and our influence in the market if we're all working separately. So if we pool all of ourselves together and present it to the market as this united force, then it's just going to get noticed. And that's really the kind of the, I guess, top philosophy around that. And then, we just do everything that way. I mean, everything is just branded Renee White Team. And so, it's working right now. I mean, at some point, will we change that model? I don't know, but that's really worked.
Do you face any resistance from agents who want to have a little bit more, I don't know, autonomy or self-recognition, if you will?
Yeah. You do. And so at the end of it, so we like to have lots of conversations before someone joins the team. I mean, Renee can pretty much talk to anybody. She's like, I like them. And so we've learned like, well, we need to have a little bit more conversations. And like, if somebody's really feeling that, they're going to continue to feel it. So I can't change that about you. And there's nothing wrong with wanting your name to be the one on the sign. And there's nothing, and there's like a path for everybody in this business. But if you want to be a part of this team, this is how we've structured it. And, and I don't want people to be there kind of just going with it and that's not what they want, because ultimately they're not going to be happy, and neither are we. I mean, we had one agent we were interviewing and we were pretty close to making a hire, and I was just, something in my gut wasn't right. And so I'm like, I'm going to have one more conversation with her. And I don't even remember what the questions were. I was like, well, is there anything, that you can see that, isn't a fit for you right now? And she's like, well, I'd really like to change the name of the team. I don't want to brand myself under Renee White. And I was like, whoa, well, good thing we had this one last conversation. So those are some of the lessons, like, don't have one conversation. You got to talk multiple times. Let people think on things. So,
Right.
yeah,
And also have a clear point of view and hold strong to it. And just know that
yeah,
you're not the right team for everybody. And there, like you
right.
said, there's a
It's so
path out there for
true.
everyone. So just be who you are, be fully who you are, and then you'll attract the people who are going to fit best with you.
Yeah. And so that's also learning, right? It's just getting it wrong. I mean, really, it's just getting it wrong a lot, and then going out and finding the people that you think are getting it right and learning from them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
yeah.
I really respect that and what you guys have built because that's not easy, right? It's not
Yeah.
easy to say this is how we're going to do things and then have to come up against resistance and hold
Hmm.
strong to that and
Yeah.
really be centered in your value proposition and
Yeah.
your point of view and not let that waver when maybe you really liked an agent and they want their name on the sign, and for you to be able to
Hmm.
say that's okay, this isn't the right team for you, we'll attract the people who are, that takes some courage. So
Yeah. You got to defend it,
yeah, you got to defend it.
So to defend it, you got to believe in it, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I have to believe that I truly believe, and I can see the power of us doing that and how that's, helped the team grow and just be noticed in the market. And then honestly, that helps every single person on the team.
Mm-hmm.
It's that brand, that power. You come on the team and you immediately get that. You have that credibility because you have that name behind you,
Yeah.
and that's huge.
And you have the admin support staff in place to really support the agents in executing on the value proposition that you're putting out into the
Yep.
market. So
Yep.
talk about that. I mean, I have met very few teams who are as admin heavy as you are for the number of agents you have, but also your agents produce a lot more than a
Mhm.
lot of teams agents do. So let's talk about the buyer agent experience. They come in, they join the team. What do they get for being on the Renee White team?
What do they get? So really everything, it's just like you plug in what Renee wants from the buyer's agents is for them to be really good at their craft, meaning knowledge about the market, knowledge about financing, knowledge about what do we need to look for when we're looking at inspections and disclosures. And so she wants them spending time becoming those experts so they can guide and our clients and give them the best experience, so they don't need to worry about a lot of other things. So she's just like, kind of like, let's strip all that noise away and then we're going to just focus on this. So I think sometimes that's a little bit harder because it might be a slower start because you think I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm supposed to be doing that. And so the experience is you come on and everything you need. So we've got your signs, we're going to give you your business cards, we have a whole CRM in place, a system of how you get appointments, open houses, guidelines around everything. And so really your job now is to work with buyers to sell homes. And when you're not doing that, you should be previewing property, going and learning about all these other things. And that's what we focus on with them.
And will you share, you have a buyer's agent on your team who has been with you for a long time, who does a lot of deals. Will you kind of share a little bit about
Yeah.
her?
Yeah. So Stacy on our team, so she's actually been in real estate longer than all of us. And the backstory is she got Renee into real estate. Renee started as a second buyer's agent on the same team as Stacy. And Stacy loves being a buyer's agent. That like takes that responsibility of everything that comes along with running the team. And she does about 40 million on her own, just as a buyer's agent, and does that consistently. And the reason that she's so great is all the reasons why, like, we almost model what we want every buyer's agent to be like after her, because she's just so committed to her clients and making sure they get every piece of knowledge she has to offer and all of her experience, and they get all of that, and then we're taking care of, she doesn't have to worry about this paperwork or this file, or it's just give them that experience and we'll take care of everything else. I mean, she's like not techie, barely, finally learning how to use some types of technology, but it just doesn't matter because that the clients just need her knowledge and experience.
I think this is such a great example of how if you attract the right people who don't need to have their name on the sign, and then you really support them, you don't need to be afraid of people becoming so successful that they will leave you, because you can create an environment that supports them so much that they're very happy to stay and they don't need to find another solution.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound like she's going anywhere. Knock
Yeah,
on wood, right?
and then we need to keep creating that environment, right? Like if Renee's like, oh, I'm just gonna, tone it back and I'm not gonna, do as much, then that might make her go look around and decide she wants to do something else. But so we also gotta feed
Keep your
that.
game. Exactly. So I want to move over and talk about protecting the brand. So you've talked about this a little bit, and like there is a way we do things, but you do some really specific things that I've never heard of. For example, you certify, people have to be certified to hold your open houses. So talk to
Yeah.
me about that. I love this.
Yeah. So that came out of, so sometimes we'll have 10, 15 open houses happening at the same time. We don't need 10, 15 agents on the team. And so we're going to have to, use other agents. And it's really, really important that any agent standing in that home is going to still be a reflection of our team. So Renee put together these guidelines and some standards of what she expects. And they're honestly things that people should just be doing anyway. But sometimes people don't know unless they've been taught. And so we decided that it wasn't enough that we just gave them the guidelines and read it, that they had to come to our class and be like, hear us talk it all the way through, and then we certify them. And so that's the only way you can get on our list. And so then once you're on the list, then when we have open houses to give away, we go to those people. And then, some of those people will, even take it a step further and really show up. And so then they're going to move to the top of the list. And I mean, there's been people that have like built their careers off of, getting open houses, because that's, when you don't really have anyone to talk to, that's how you're going to get business. So it's such a huge opportunity. And for us, it's like, we want to give that to you, but can you do these things for us? And it's stuff like how you prepare the home, how you prepare before you walk in the door, like know about the house, like read the disclosures, see other properties in the neighborhood, show up early. When you're done, we have a form you have to check out basically of the open house, and you have to complete that, and can't just be like 10 people came through. Like we need to know, were they buyers? Were they other agents? If they were other agents, make sure you tell us who they were so we can follow up. So it's like, you always have to have the hat on. Like if this was my listing, what would I need to know? And so that's really how we kind of protect that. And then Renee can confidently let our sellers know, I'm going to have somebody that's going to treat your home. And also telling people, don't bring your own materials, don't make your own flyers, don't, do your own marketing out there. Like, so you have to be okay with that too. Your opportunity is going to be in that house for 3 to 4 hours and hopefully, meet a buyer or seller. We're going to do everything else. So that's not your chance to get it marketed or, create your own things.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said about people don't know what the standard is unless you communicate it to them. And
Yeah,
isn't that the truth?
it's so
And just
true.
because what you think is, I always, tell employers, 5 minutes early might mean on time to you, but within 15 minutes of the start time might be on time to somebody else. And
Yeah.
you can't get upset with somebody who doesn't know your standard unless you've already communicated it to them.
Yeah.
And so that's just fantastic that you take it to that level.
And you have to communicate it more than one. We've learned that, like Renee are like, we told you, and then it's like, you think it's like, a rule and everybody has it cemented, and it's just not true. And so they go to that class, they get certified, and so we have a list that goes out. Everybody that's holding an open house that weekend gets the same schedule. So everybody knows where everybody's at. They have each other's phone numbers. There's like just a lot of transparency there. And those standards are attached to that again, and all the rules. So there's like just really no reason for not knowing. And then some people still show up and then we're like, what? And then they just get off the list.
Right.
So
Yeah. Perfect. What else? Like, are there other areas where you've implemented those types of systems to maintain your brand standards?
I don't know about brand standards, but things like yeah, I mean, so even the agents on our team, if they want to do, like, say they're, I'm really interested in door knocking. Well, we're going to create that piece of that marketing piece. Like, we don't want them spending their time creating any marketing materials. They just don't need to spend their time doing that. So, if you want to do something extra beyond what's already happening, that's fine. And we want to support that, but we're going to make sure it's branded and still a reflection of the team. So I think just stuff like that, trying to think, sometimes when you're just like in it, it just feels normal.
Right. Well, I'm sure you have templates that go out for clients at different stages of the
Yeah.
of the
So,
contract.
and then most of that stuff is really done by our administrative team, so yeah.
Well, and let's talk about your role in the administrative team. I mean, it definitely sounds like your hand is in all the things. You are the director of operations, but tell me about the team that you manage and like some of your managerial responsibilities.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's grown, right? So so today we have a listing coordinator, a transaction coordinator that just manages the listings, somebody that works directly with just our buyers, and then some virtual assistants that support us. And we also have a full-time field coordinator, which is like a runner. But before we had all those people, I was like, say all those roles, right? Like at one time. And then it's like, okay, well, we need somebody to just do this piece. And so I think the advantage, at least I think it's an advantage, is that I've sat in all those seats. So I have a real true understanding of what it is to be in that role. And so I think, so today it's more me just leading and supporting them and making sure that they have what they need to be successful, and also learning to let go of some of this stuff, so I've transactionally, I've probably letting go of most of that. And then also on the team, we're missing a person in the way of a marketing coordinator. So I'm still the person who handles all the marketing, all the events, all of that. And we don't really pull our transaction team into any of that. We really want them just focused on our clients and making sure that they're delivering that experience. So, yeah. So I've learned a lot there too. I mean, it's just been a journey. I think in the beginning, I'd be like, okay, here's the role, you just throw it at them. And then you're like, why didn't you know? And so I've just had to really, I'm always looking inward. Like, what could I have done to make that situation better or been more supportive? And so I think then learning that, like the person that I have in the listing coordinating role today, she's been there 2 years. And I really feel like I don't know a better word, but like spoon fed her the job. So it's so big that I'm like, okay, you're going to do this part of it and I'm going to keep doing this part of it. And then after you master that, I'm going to give you this part of it. And then now she's managing a team of 2 people under her. So, yeah.
I think you made such a good point about how you had to learn how to let go too, because we talk about this a lot with the lead agent. And I went through this as the owner of a recruiting firm. Letting go of little bits and then finally letting go of all the recruiting was a huge shift. But admins go through the same thing. And maybe it's even harder for you because you guys are perfectionists. Like you want it all done right. So for you to let go and to trust somebody else to do it, I'm sure is a process. Did you get any coaching or training or support as you were kind of climbing this ladder?
Yes. Renee has always been so amazing at, investing in me, I guess is the way that I would put it. So in the beginning, it might have been like group coaching. I went to different like admin training programs and group coachings that way. And then I had my own coach I'm not in coaching right now, but we need to get back. It's been about a year and we just were taking a break from it. And then I'm like, okay, but always have had up until just this last year, I've always had some sort of coach. And sometimes it's different things. Like we wanted to be really good at our database management. And so I did it was like a 6-month program on, just really learning and how to do that. And out of that, we developed what we call our laws of the pipeline. So then we have these, really great way that we can all communicate. But yeah, so she's always invested in me that way. And then I try to do the same back with, the people on our
100%.
team if they want it. Like, that's the hardest lesson in all of this, honestly, is just you can't want things for people more than they want it for themselves. And
Oh
so I
man.
can't just say, I think, well, I want that, or I'd do it like this. But it's like, what do you want? What do you need? How can I support you? And so
Yeah.
it's a constant journey.
Isn't that the truth? It is all a constant journey. It
Yeah.
doesn't end, right? And
Yeah.
so, but it sounds like you and Renee and the rest of your team are on an incredible journey together, and that you've had some bumps in the road, as we all do, but you've really pushed through and leveled up. And I think you're such a wonderful example of what's possible, what you could do, like a tiny but mighty group of professionals who hold themselves to high standards and have the right people in the right seats, right? Like you and
Yeah.
Renee kind of sitting side by side, running this tiny but mighty organization,
Yeah.
is just a wonderful framework that other people can hopefully emulate or take their own version of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
is there
definitely
anything
very
else?
exciting.
Yeah, and is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you think that you've learned, or some words of wisdom that you'd want to share?
Hmm. One of the things that I didn't understand until when we were just the two of us, and people would always tell me, I'd hear in different trainings, build it to where you want to go, not where you're at. And like, you don't understand that until you have all your systems built around two people, and then you add a third and it's broken. So then it's just like, I mean, just everything right down to when we had an in-house ISA, they used a cell phone that they would carry around. So if we didn't have that phone, we could forward the phone, but we can't forward the text. So like, we had to like go, oh, we need cloud-based phones, and just like, really. And so I think just really thinking that through, even so much as like, we have one number now that everything goes to, and it's not Renee's cell phone, but that's not how we started. And so it's like, even if you're an agent all by yourself, have two phone numbers. You can answer them both. But as soon as you want to leverage yourself, now that other one could be answered. And so it's just really like, just taking the time to think about some of those things. Like, how is my life going to be impacted if I add one more person? How are we going to communicate?
That's such good advice, right? Building to scale, building with
Yeah.
the future in mind, the growth in mind, instead of where you are today. What a wonderful place for us to end. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Darlene. That was so incredible and helpful, and I'm just so glad that we were connected. I will include Darlene's LinkedIn profile, if that's okay, in
Sure.
the description, and a link to the Renee White team so you can learn more about them. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. See you next time.
Thank you.